Hi, and welcome to Venture Bros, a Venture Brothers podcast brought to you by After the Hype. I'm your host, as always, Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Nick Friedemann.
Hello.
Or as our old Starbucks boss used to call him, Olas Friedemann.
I don't even remember that.
He got really annoyed one day when we were talking about shortening names, and he's like, yeah, but why don't we just go with Nick? Why not Olas? I'm going to call him Olas.
That is exactly like our old Starbucks boss.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, sure, I guess so.
He was a weird dude.
I don't even know where to start arguing with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong.
Mm-mm.
He's not right, but he's not wrong.
Nope, not at all.
So I know, last week we did have our other co-host, Graham Mason, on, who was unavailable to record for these 2 weeks. So he will be on at some point. I know out of 5 episodes, he's only on 1, but he will start being on more at some point.
Perfect.
All right, and then before we get started today, Nick and I were talking before we start recording. I'll let Nick take it away, but we have some confusion to figure out.
Yes, so I think both of us knew this before starting, but I don't think either of us were prepared for how much of like a timeline mess this first season is. We originally were going to go with what I think is what we're going to call like the Hulu or Wikipedia, or like the air date order was what we were going to go by. And then we both kind of were doing research and kind of going through it, and we found that the DVD order is different. We found this out last week. We were originally going to record 2 episodes with Graham, but then Graham watched the DVD order and we watched the air date order, and we did not watch the same second episode.
What a fuck up.
But to be fair, like, we didn't realize it. I don't know how we didn't, but I think that it's like, well, so be it. So we were like, okay, we'll go off the DVD order, and because that's supposed to be the right chronology of episodes, say 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, etc.
I mean, that's as voted by the internet and Reddit that I could find.
Yes. And it also matches the DVD order, so it's clearly there's some sort of consensus with the venture powers that be, and we're just so turned around. I think that in general, these episodes, there is an order, but I think that their order, even in the DVD order and the air date order, is mixed up because it just doesn't quite make sense. But I think that's okay for this first season, because I don't remember this being this way from basically season 2 on. But season 1's kind of all over the place, so be it.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty, but, they're still all good episodes, and really, beyond some inside jokes to other episodes, I think it's really okay.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's what we're referring to, is the inside jokes, is that we're like, and I wrote down a few where I was like, wait, what? Like, but that's just the way it is.
I had more problems with that in next week's episode than this episode, though.
Yes, absolutely.
So this week's episode is Midlife Chrysalis.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I was not a huge Venture Brothers fan. Whenever somebody turned on an episode of Venture Brothers, this was the one that I saw. I felt like I had gotten so tired of this episode because I just kept finding myself watching it before I was ever a fan. Almost turned me off of the show because I got so tired of seeing this one episode.
Really?
Yeah, it was so weird. I had a friend who lived across the hall from me in college, and she's like, yeah, we should watch Venture Brothers. I'm watching Midlife Chrysalis again. I'm like, ugh, no, I don't care. Like, show me a different one.
What a weird episode to start on.
Right?
Like, it's not to judge your friend here, but what terrible judgment. I just... Because this whole episode is based around, like, completely understanding these characters.
Yeah.
It is, to me, it's a second season episode that's in the first season.
I don't know. I like this episode as like being a really good introduction to. I mean, we've already had it introduced a few times, but like it's a really good example of how the Monarch treats both Dr. Girlfriend and Dr. Venture.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that I think this episode would land more if it were later on, because I just don't see. This was my takeaway from the episode, is I don't think that I necessarily connected with some of the things they really wanted me to connect to if I'm putting myself in the place of a first-time viewer. From our standpoint I've watched this show through, at least the first few seasons I've watched through at least twice. And
only twice. I'm way more than twice at this point.
see, so then there you go. But I think that it's hard for me to separate myself from like what I would view as like what if I was watching this for the first time? And so many of like the decisions made by the characters and the general kind of situations are based around really understanding the Monarch and his relationship with Dr. Girlfriend, Dr. Venture and his relationship with not just his father, but his kids, Brock's relationship with OSI. Like, all of that makes so much more sense knowing all of that. But as a first-time viewer, I think you'd be a little lost.
Well, especially if you're going off the DVD order, which we are, it's a really weird one to jump into because they have the whole subplot of Brock not being a secret agent. And, like, if you jump into that, and what would this be, episode 4?
Yeah.
Like, that's a bit of a shock. Like, it's kind of like you didn't really get to know him as the agent that much, like, so it's kind of weird to take it away from him so fast.
Exactly.
And not that it's a problem, because it led to some of my favorite stuff with him and Hank ever, but
yeah,
it's still just, it feels like a weird move to pull so soon. But then again, like we talked about it with a previous episode, the second episode ever, like after we establish the world, we just fuck off into space. Like, it's I kind of like that they don't really feel the need to follow a standard episode order. Like, so even if this was the intended order, I'm still kind of okay with it, because I like that they're willing to just kind of take risks like that.
For sure. I absolutely agree with you, but we should set up the episode.
Yes.
So
this episode is, it essentially takes place after, not after, but during the first of probably many of Dr. Venture's midlife crises. Where he realizes that he's older, kind of schlubby, and no one is really going to be interested in him. So he decides to turn the tables and go out in the town, look his best, and try to hook up with somebody. And this is the perfect opportune moment for the Monarch to sick Dr. Girlfriend on him as a potential suitor, and then she injects him with some sort of mystery serum that turns him into a caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, we find out that Brock's secret agent license, well, this isn't meanwhile, it's opening the episode, but has been expired for 6 months, so he has to go through a test to get it renewed, and the boys help him with that. By the end of the episode, Dr. Girlfriend has been spending a lot of time with Dr. Venture, much to the anger of the Monarch, and she feels guilty about poisoning him. So once he goes into full cocoon mode, she gives him a shot to turn it around, have him come back to being human, and Brock becomes back into secret agents through some of my favorite stuff ever, and then he beats the shit out of a security guard who made fun of his mullet.
Yep.
Did I get everything?
Absolutely, you nailed it all.
Okay. I feel pretty good about that. I watched that episode way last week.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I've seen this one a lot.
Yes, I totally. I watched it twice, and it is because I've been in this pattern of watching the episodes twice, one without taking notes, and then one where I can take notes, because they're short enough that I can do that, and I have, like 45 minutes to spare, like twice a week, so I'm like, oh, okay, I can do it. But in watching it twice, you kind of like some of the jokes don't land the second time. Which is fair, But I think this episode in particular has some like really big leaps it's asking you to make with it. And watching it twice, you're just like, how does Rusty not realize? Like, it's like, okay, I can kind of roll with it in a weird sort of way. But the injection that you were talking about is perplexing. Like, it's so strange for him to not make that connection. But I guess the argument that the show is making is that he is desperate. So...
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love that, and like the other thing that I love about this episode is this sets up a series-long joke.
Yes.
Like, this one episode is the point place of Dr. Venture being obsessed with Dr. Girlfriend throughout the rest of the series.
It's true. But it also it does another thing, too, which it sets up the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend's kink, which is that they're in this like bizarrely... I would say sexually liberal relationship, but in a way that they're constantly navigating it. Like, they don't really know kind of where their limits are. I think that's one of the most interesting parts of their relationship as the show goes on, is he doesn't like that she's into that he thinks that she's into Dr. Venture. He thinks that they slept together, It's a little ambiguous, but it seems likely that she didn't sleep with him. She says she didn't sleep with him, though it's a running sort of subplot of if she didn't sleep with him. But he's not so much against her sleeping with other men as the show progresses. He is against her sleeping with Dr. Venture because he doesn't like Dr. Venture, obviously. But I think that it's an interesting thing for them to explore in this like animated shows series. Like it's a very interesting thing for them to just constantly like build upon.
It's a weird thing for a show like this to tackle like a budding open relationship. Like it's kind of like it's a weird thing for them to go after, but it's still like it's done so well and it's really funny.
Yes.
Like I really like I love the, I mean, I'm jumping way ahead here, but like there's an episode where 21 and Dr. Girlfriend, or the Dr. Mrs. Monarch at that point, make out over the Monarch's unconscious body. And when he finally comes clean about it, the Monarch's just like, yeah, we're supervillains. I don't care. Why would I care about that?
Yes. And it's like, it's a really wonderful moment for that show, but I also think it's a wonderful moment for the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend. One of my things that I brought up, I think in last week's episode, is that I didn't really love how they treated Brock's sexuality towards Dr. Blagojevich.
Right, yeah.
And I think that this episode is like much more liberal with that. It's just, in general, it's just much more open and accepting. Well, I felt like it's one of the rare moments where I felt like the show was like bizarrely sexually, like last week's episode was bizarrely sexually, what would you even call it? Like condemning in a weird way? I don't know.
I'm not sure I go with condemning, but
yeah, you're right. That's a bit harsh. But you know what I meant.
I know what you mean. Yes. Yeah, this one it feels like they've like I think that's why I like the episode as much as I do, even though I'm really tired of watching it. Because it feels like they're. I'm trying to get over the condemning thing, because it's not that it was condemning.
No, you're right. I misspoke. I don't think condemning is right. I think that it's just kind of like a rare misstep in the kind of what I would describe as like the philosophy of the show.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way to put it, because I like that this episode, it starts something that I feel like the show does very well, which is like it always tries new things. Like the show's always willing to try new things, and I think that's really personified in Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend's relationship.
Absolutely.
Like if you just want to think about the show that's always willing to go completely new places, all the way up to including like a guy who becomes a Red Hulk, like the show's just not afraid to do weird and out there things. And I like that they have a couple who's willing to do the same thing. It's kind of a cool thing they've tucked in their show. I don't even think necessarily intentionally in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that they stumble upon in this episode, is that it was an avenue for them to be like, how can we build upon these characters? And I think that they do that in two separate ways. I mean, this episode comes back at the end of the second season as well. It's not just establishing the relationship and the kink of the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend. It's also establishing Rusty's never met Dr. Girlfriend before. And when he sees her again, he's convinced that she's still into him and blah, blah. And this is at the Monarch's wedding.
Oh, right.
And so it's just like, but it further establishes Rusty's obliviousness. I think that they weren't really sure what to do with Rusty at the beginning. They understood what his character was, but I don't think they understood his place in this world. They even mention, I'll save this for the next episode, but they mentioned something in the next episode where I was like, really? And it's like, okay, and I'll go into it. This is a teaser, Brian. It's a teaser.
Yeah.
But they don't really know what to do with him yet. And I think his just like absolutely embarrassing like attitude towards everything is in full force in this episode, because we talked about his embarrassment in last episode of like soiling his own suit, which is absurd in a really wonderful sort of way. And here it's like he just doesn't understand how people view him at all. Like he's completely oblivious.
Oh yeah, and like it's a running gag throughout the entire show that luckily never gets old, but it's one of those things where like he's at a bar trying to hit on women and he just does not understand that nobody likes him. Like
no, when he puts out the welcome mat, quote unquote,
oh my god,
I groaned both times. I was like, oh my god, you're killing me.
I mean, like, that said, I would love to go to a bar with him. Like, I'd love just going just to watch this happen.
This is where we differ. I think the whole time I would be like, just fucking put me out of my misery. This is terrible.
I mean, but it's so terrible in a good way. Like, I love watching those sort of like, ugh, that was a bad idea.
Yes, he has a lot of, this is like prime, absolutely unbearable Rusty. And it makes for great television, but he is in rare form. That's the best way I can describe him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, whenever he decides to put on a wig or any sort of hair, it's like, oh, you're in for a good version of Rusty in this episode.
Oh, and he wears his, like, award from 77, I think is the date that they give. And you're just like, God, so sad. This is the saddest. Ugh.
But I love that, and I love the way that he's getting ready. It's just like, what am I talking about? I used to be Rusty Venture, boy adventurer. And it's like, nobody cares.
Nobody
cares.
I also love they established too. They do. I'm obsessed with any sitcom where they start a scene in the middle. I think we've talked about this a few times, even on this podcast. And I think the Venture Brothers does a really good job with that, where they start kind of like a story right near the end. And the way he ends the story while talking to Dr. Girlfriend in disguise is he's like, and that uppity little TA, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, he's so proud of this, and it happened like 20 years ago. This is so unbearable.
I love that. And then this one is also sets up another running gag throughout the entire show of who's the boy's mom.
Yes.
And this one, this is, especially if you're watching DVD order, this is the first time they really bring it up. And they attempt to address it of like, oh, I guess I never told you who your mom was. Well, you see, boys, your mom was, oh, date's here, gotta go.
Yep.
Like,
oh my God.
Shit.
Ugh, and like that's while he has like this giant growth on his face, and it's just like, oh, and
there's a love bite.
Yeah,
there's a love bite.
Oh my God.
You'll understand when you're older.
Bringing his 2 coffees back to bed. Oh God.
I've had a roommate like that too. I won't name him, but you definitely know who he is.
Yeah, I think I know who it is. And you're just like, cool. Like, it's one of those things too where you're like, I am proud of you, but at the same time, there's a moment. Okay, so this is maybe a bit. We can cut this out if we want to cut this out, but there's a moment in Frasier where Frasier says something like that to Niles, and Niles just looks at him and goes, you don't actually tell the woman this, do you? And he's just like, oh God, no. And it's like, that's Rusty though, in a nutshell, is that he will tell. He oozes confidence, but it's confidence that is like this completely unwarranted confidence, but also just completely misguided, unearned, like just everything like that.
But I think that it's still, I mean, I know we're going to be a bit of a broken record with this stuff, but that's why I love him. Like, that's why he's such a great character. It's like, he is the most unearned confidence. He's not as nearly as intelligent as he likes to think he is. And he's just an idiot.
Absolutely. And to excuse our broken recordness, I think that it really is necessary for you to feel this way because you need to empathize with Dr. Girlfriend. Dr. Girlfriend doesn't feel bad because she did something bad. She feels bad, and this is my interpretation of it, she feels bad because she's just like, this guy is sad. Like, this is a real... I really feel that way because I don't think that she does it because she feels like she genuinely did a bad action. She feels bad because it's just like he has nothing going for him. He's wearing a bizarre suit from, I don't even know, it would have been thrown out in 71, and a medal from 77. Like, it's a travesty. Like,
oh yeah, and like the show as it goes on, you definitely find out that Dr. Girlfriend is a much better supervillain than the Monarch.
Yes,
like by far. And like, so the idea of her doing something evil is never going to be a problem. She has no problem being a bad person. She has a problem, like, I'm taking advantage of a real idiot here.
Yes, exactly. I don't think that there's any sport in it for her. And I think that there's also just like, she's a much more honorable person than the Monarch is. But I think that she generally makes the Monarch better as the show goes on, as far as like if you're looking at him as a person, because I think it starts off with him being much more underhanded than he ends up. And I think that this episode is the first time that you actually get to see Dr. Girlfriend as more of a character than just a sidekick, which I think is very important.
Oh yeah, because she becomes one of my favorite characters in the show. It just takes her somewhere in season 2, I want to say, to actually start getting there.
I think it takes, absolutely. It's after the season finale. I actually think it's actually the season finale of this season is the first time that you actually even get to see another step in her growth that's very important to the show as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's when she goes back to Phantom Limb. Like, that's when she really starts becoming, like, an amazing character. But we'll get there down the road. So I think we're getting close to the half-hour mark where we like to try to end these things. I'd like to move into, like, our favorite moments, if you wouldn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Mine comes, it's, as it does a lot in these early seasons, my favorite moment has to do with Helper.
Yes.
Specifically, after Dr. Venture has turned into a caterpillar and he no longer has hands and cannot shoot himself in the face with a shotgun, he tries to get poor Helper to do it. And just poor Helper just with the gun and just...
And then throws it down and like just rolls away.
Oh, it's such a great moment.
Okay, can I cheat? I have like 3 that are very short.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, perfect. One is just the term hockey hair. I just want to throw that out there. I think that's amazing. 2 is when Dean gets hit in the nuts and he goes, Yahtzee!
Oh my god, that's so good. It cracks me up every time.
It's the phrases that both Hank and Dean use are incredible. And this was one of the first really good ones is, Yahtzee.
We didn't even talk about the boys and their who's in charge at night thing.
I think we should. Can we take a quick moment to talk about it? Because there is so much in there that is such great character development for both of these two, but also just sums up both of them and sums up being like a teenage boy so well.
Oh yeah.
The stupidity of Dean giving away the throne of power is so, like, you're like, I'm gonna get him so good and make him drink this, and then and then Hank drinks it and he's just like, I spit in that, but then his whole night is just like fucked, like all night.
I love that was the problem. Like the one problem was that he spit in it, and then 3 different people throughout this episode have to drink a drink with spit in it. Like,
yes. Oh, so good.
Because as the boss, then Hank turns around and makes Dean spit in it. Or it makes Dean drink the same thing with spit in it. And then when Hank starts teaching Brock, he gives him a glass full of eggs. Like, when I'm done with you, you're going to eat lightning and crap thunder. It looks like he's going to eat eggs and crap eggs.
Oh, it's the best. But it's like, it does such a good job for establishing like the two of them together as brothers, though, where you're like, this relationship like makes sense, but it also feels very much so like a relationship of 2 brothers, like in a very natural sort of way.
Yeah, I have a sister. I don't have a brother, so luckily I was able to avoid a lot of these pitfalls. But I mean, from the people I know with do brothers, it really does, like, it really rings honest. It's the whole like who's in charge at night, especially if you're twins. It's just like, oh fuck.
Exactly. I have one more that I think is just because we've all been all over Rusty's confident dick this whole episode. He pulls out a condom and he's just like, the condom falls apart because it's so old, and he's just like, condoms. Rusty doesn't need gadgets to please a woman. And you're just like, what the fuck does that mean?
I love that. He doesn't need gadgets to please a woman. That just screams to me like, that's how you had the boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, great.
So you idiot.
So those were my 3. I cheated. I'm sorry, but thank you for letting me cheat, Brian.
All right. So with that, I'd say that brings this episode to a close. We can do a really quick round of plugs and then we'll say goodbye. Be sure to check out our website, athpod.com. We can find this, our flagship show, After the Hype. And then starting, I believe, in, I want to say, late July, we're going to have potentially 2, maybe 3 more shows coming up. But we'll see if those actually happen or not. But as of right now, they are happening. I just can't tell you what any of them are yet. One of them I'm very excited about because it's the most fully fledged out idea right now. If the other 2 come along as well as the first one, we are going to have the best podcast network on the internet, I boldly declare.
Nice.
But we'll get there. That's it for me. Nick, do you have anything to plug, like a video game that you're working on? What was the name of that again?
It is called Nunya Business. No, I'm just joking. I can't say anything yet, but I'll let you know, and I'll announce it, I guess, or just tell you as soon as I can.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, I'll say a very weak Go Team Venture, and I will say bye.
Bye.